back for another episode of the Fly on the Wall Show. This is the 6th episode of the Fly on the Wall Show, starring me, your host, J.R. Lee, brought to you by Food for Thought Network, sponsored by Denzel Rodriguez, aka the Finance Geek. If you're looking to fix your credit and remove your debt by using your actual credit, something called the velocity banking, Denzel Rodriguez is your guy. He is the man for the job. He's helped thousands of people fix their credit and change their lives and start their kingdoms, building generational wealth. So if you're looking to fix your credit, Denzel Rodriguez is your guy, the Finance Geek, man. So guys, like I said, this is the 5th episode of the Fly on the Wall, Season 2. This is a very special episode. I'm so happy and grateful. This is a little different than the normal format I've had with the Instagram Live. Today, we are doing a pre-recorded version, right, on Zoom. This is different now, getting a little bit outside my comfort zone, but it's about to be an amazing conversation with none other than DJ EFN. I cannot wait. A few minutes early, so I'm just doing the intro from now. Wait for him to join the conversation. A little bit about DJ EFN, aka at Who's Crazy Man, legendary serial entrepreneur, hip hop figure, for the culture icon, man. And I don't even want to call him, just a DJ, man. A&R, record executive, fashion retail owner. He owns his own production company called Crazy Hood Productions, man, where they also had award-winning films, music videos. They did marketing promotions for some of the biggest companies that you know, Def Jam, Ciroc, Bad Boy, the list goes on, guys. And I got to have a special sit down with him. He's also known right now as one of the co-hosts for one of the biggest and I believe the #1 podcast in the world right now for hip hop music. Jams, man. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, man, from music to business to mindset to just everything, about the culture, man, the state of the culture. And, shout out to him as well. He just had a baby, man. So we're about to have an amazing conversation, So just waiting for him to come in.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
How you doing?
What's the deal?
Absolutely, man. I just want to welcome you to the 5th episode of the Fly on the Wall Show. I'm so happy and grateful to have you on here, man. How you doing today?
Good, man. Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So for the people who may not know who you are, can you tell them a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Wow, I feel like everybody wants to get into their life stories when they get asked that. In general, man, I'm a hip hop DJ. Started a company called Crazy Hood Productions with my crew, my high school crew, in 1993, and we just been involved in all aspects of the culture and the music industry from 93 till today, which culminates with Drink Champs and my Coming Home documentary series and a bunch of other things we're still doing.
That's amazing, man. So you said you started off with a group of high school friends from 1993. We're in 2021. Yeah. That's quite an extensive time period to still be, working with people that you were familiar with for such a long time. How important is relationships for you and everything that you do?
Hugely important, man. I mean, relationships in terms of the people you keep closest to, like my crew, which is hugely important in my life in the sense that we started, as just hip hop kids, as fans, and decided to try to take a crack at doing it on a serious type level, not knowing anything, and but unified. I felt like as a unified group we could do anything. That's how I felt when I was, you're young, you're ambitious, and you think you could do anything.
That's important.
Yeah, of course. And then that family that I don't have any brothers and sisters, so my crew was my family. Those were my brothers, and they just, that support system was important to carry through the years and all the endeavors and all the ups and the downs, to where we're at now. And outside of that, everybody I've met along the way, those relationships and maintaining those and creating that network, whether it be locally or abroad, and making sure that I maintain those relationships. Those are key to doing things in the future that, those relationships turn into stuff that you don't even know what they're going to turn into. That's why it's key to to make sure you treat everybody with respect.
Absolutely, treat everybody with respect. I was actually watching one of the videos that you recently posted where you were talking about your network is your net worth, and how it's important to not just, you
Right.
know, treat people. Like, you'll never know who can turn around and be your boss or somebody that you're going to do business with.
Right. Correct. Yeah. And I mean, another thing too is like, I don't want people to misunderstand me. When I say, treat people with respect and you never know who's going to be your boss or who you're going to work with, doesn't mean for you to get disrespected either. You know
Absolutely,
what I'm
absolutely.
saying? Me speaking as a man, like, I don't want to be, I'm not going to allow anybody to disrespect me just because they might be like, oh, you're going to have to talk to me. Like, it's all on how people approach you as well. Like, I expect people to use common sense and have some kind of, morality and class in how they deal with me as well. Like, and respect me like I'm going to respect them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And earlier you did mention your documentary, the documentary that you actually did with one of your artists, Garcia. Can you talk a little bit about that and that process? I know you guys actually won an award for best documentary for that. How was that experience for you?
Man, the first one was an amazing experience. Garcia was involved in the first few, and then I've been doing them on my own for a while. And Garcia, because he's gotten really busy, he's
Yeah,
become this huge music video director now.
amazing.
Yeah, he's repping us in that world. So he followed that lead, and I kept going with Coming Home. So I kind of took on the directorial role in the Coming Home series. But man, it was just a dream come true to just go to Cuba, which was the first film.
Yeah,
And it was just something we wanted to do as a hobby, like on the side, not thinking it would become a lane for us.
yeah,
And it was just visiting, kind of like following our roots and stuff like that, and then checking in with the hip hop scene in Cuba. When we came back, the film got phenomenal, kind of feedback and reviews, and it got film festivals. And for people being first time filmmakers, this was crazy for us. And then it
yeah,
got picked up
yeah.
by Revolt TV when they launched.
Yeah, that's
Which is
major.
wild. We knew people that had they were directors, that was what they did. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
And they hadn't been able to get something like on cable television license, and we're here out the gate.
You gotta just
So
try it though. This is the beautiful thing of just trying to do something and
of
putting your
course,
effort.
I absolutely believe that. And on top of that, that we didn't just do it to like, oh, we want to show, like do TV to be TV people. It
Yeah,
was just something that we were passionately doing from the heart. It wasn't trying to do anything other than that, like, and just film an experience. And so that gave, way to a whole new lane, which became the Coming Home series, which is a documentary series where we travel to different countries now. And it's like, if anybody's ever watched Anthony Bourdain, who's
yes,
the
yes.
originator of not just a travel show, it's a really in-depth, like I don't want to call it a travel show, but it is a travel show. But it's, when people think of travel shows, they think of like people just going and eating and acting a fool, and it just like kind of like glosses over what's going on. Like Anthony Bourdain dove in to what
Yeah,
was going on in a culture, but he used food because that's what he knew. That's the world he
yeah.
came.
And
So I took
it's like a mutual commonality people understand.
it's a common language. So I took that same approach where he used food and I'm using what I know, hip hop, and I'm connecting with that common language. And I'm taking it serious where each country, I want to learn what's going on, like, not on the tourist vibe, like I want the culture to tell me what's going on in that country. And so that's what we did with Coming Home. And I mean, right now we're finishing the sixth film, which was in South Africa.
Oh, wow, that's gonna be amazing. Is there, like, congratulations on
Thank you.
number six, by the way. Is there like a country that you really want to travel to that you have planned for the future, maybe?
I mean, I want to go everywhere, man. Like, I want to go first and foremost to the countries that are the least, like, at least in the States, explored or known,
Yeah,
just because, you know, eh, France, everybody know, like especially hip hop, like everybody knows there's hip hop, and
yeah,
it's kind of France or Germany or even Japan. But I want to go to all those places. But
yeah, of
before I go
course.
there, I rather go to some of these other places that are kind of untapped, where people will be like, "Oh wow, I didn't know they had a scene there." I know there's a scene everywhere. Like, hands down, I'm not wondering. I know hip hop is everywhere.
Yes.
So that's without a doubt. So I mean, take me to the farthest reaches of the earth, like Mongolia or Tibet. That's where I want to go.
Absolutely. I could tell, like you breathe hip hop, you live and breathe hip hop. You, like, it's like pouring through your pores right now.
Thank you.
Like how did this relationship with hip hop develop? Was it something from when you were younger?
Yeah. I mean, first it was just a passion for music in general. You just loving music.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I'm hearing all kinds of music growing up. My older cousins are listening to disco. My mom and my grandparents are listening to salsa and merengue and Latin music. And then I come to Miami and I'm starting to hear Miami bass and I'm hearing reggae and you know, and hip hop, of course. And you know, and I listened to other stuff too. I listened to rock when I was young and punk rock, and I was a skater. And so I was into everything was in my soundtrack. But what I loved music so much that, and I also paired it with movies, and I loved movies that were a part of like display like a certain era, you know, like the 60s or the 40s or the 30s, and then they put the music of that time, you know, for that movie. And I loved the visual of like the older stuff and then the music that went with it. So I started to realize that music kind of put a timestamp on like a generation.
Absolutely. I
And
can time travel with music.
yeah, so to me, I was like, I was really like interested in that. And then when I mean, hip hop was there the whole time, you know, as rap music, the music of hip hop. But then I start like it starts to get more and more like prevalent in my let's say mixtapes or my
Right.
boombox,
Right.
and I start to realize, hold up, man, this is the music of my generation.
Absolutely.
And it's like in its early stages, and that's when I started to get really passionate. And then NWA, I mean, I say this a lot. NWA and Public Enemy for me were the ones that really broke through and showed me the emotion in hip hop. Because before that, it felt more party, more. You know, it wasn't as serious, or you couldn't really feel that emotion. But NWA and Public Enemy, like
They had a
they
message. Like you
came out
knew
the boombox and grabbed me, like shook me up, like, and you either felt fear or you felt anger, and I was like, holy shit, this is powerful.
that
And
raw
then
emotion.
yeah, and then I just started to like dive into the what it was to when I found out there was an entire culture behind this. You know, I'm like, wow, man, this is amazing, and this is in its early stages. I can not only be a fan and support this early on, then later on, I'm like, wait, locally, I could even probably make a difference. You know?
Absolutely. And that you did. And that's how you kind of got started in Miami. You pretty much helped put Miami on. I was doing some research and I saw that, you know, of course, Miami wasn't really, I guess Florida doesn't really get their respect in terms of hip hop culture and
Right.
music. And you're one of the first pioneers to kind of actually take the local artists and put them on to a national demographic.
Well, and to be fair, maybe first that a lot of people heard of
Of course.
now, but when I even came into the game as a fan locally and started to look around, there was cats doing it out here, and they were
Okay,
doing
okay.
things that were inspiring me. You know?
Okay. That's good. That's good. Good. Also, oh, congratulations, by the way. I know you just had a baby.
I had my son. He's 7 months old right now. Yeah.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
congratulations. And I know you have your podcast, the Fatherhood Podcast. How has having kids affected you, you know, just mentally as far as your career and just balancing everything?
It's rough, man. I'm still learning, to be honest with you. You know, I decided to have kids, you know, a little older than all my friends did. Um, and you know, I'm in a point in my career where there's just a lot being thrown at me. And so what happens is when you don't have kids and you don't have a family, you as an entrepreneur, you could do whatever whenever you want.
Yeah, right.
You know, like I would be up all night, you know, doing stuff, you know, and then wake up 1 in the afternoon if I had to, or do whatever, just whatever you want. It just there's a freedom to
Yeah,
be able to, especially in the creative world.
right.
You know, you need that freedom to be creative.
Absolutely.
So and especially you can't, like, you know, I use the term, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I've been like this since 93, man, doing what I do, you know,
Yeah,
and I've kind of been the boss. So ain't nobody, you know, there was no one on top of me. So
right.
now in a sense, my kids and my family are the bosses because I live for them now.
You gotta think about somebody other than yourself now.
Of course. So it's really, really tricky. And I'm still learning because my daughter's only 2 years old. She's about to be 3 actually. And then my son, you know, he's 7 months. So it's all still kind of fairly new to me. And it's tough. I'm not even gonna lie. It's rough.
Mm.
You know, having one was already a handful, but two, you just threw yourself in the pit. And so yeah, man, it's not, it hasn't been an easy road, but I feel like, you know, it's well worth the struggle for sure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You're doing great, man. I'm sure, you know, you're a good role model and you're leaving a legacy for your children. And that's important. They have something to look back and be like, yo, my dad did all of this amazing stuff for us. So shout out to you, man. That's amazing.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Of course, man. we could talk a little bit about Drink Champs, man. Everybody kind of knows about Drink Champs, one of the most talked about podcasts in the world, legendary, two legendary hosts. How did that whole thing, begin?
So Drink Champ started in my studio, which was in my older studio, which is not too far from where I'm at right now. I'm in a new office now. And Nori, what had happened is we had known each other for years. And we had worked on stuff, and I was the first person to bring him to Miami to do a solo show. So yeah, shout outs to Nori. So legend, obviously. So he moved to Miami at one point after he did that reggaeton album. And he knew I wasn't really into reggaeton. I was never really into that style of music. No offense to them, they're doing their thing. And so when he moved here, he's like, "Yo, E, bring me back to hip hop. Like, let's just get in the studio and let's just work." And he knew that I was kind of like this diehard, like purist hip hop boom bap dude. And he's like, "Yo, just bring me back." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it, man."
Nostalgia.
Yeah, so we were in the studio every day. Like he was in the studio more than I was even around. He just was working. I had paired him up. I don't know if you ever heard of our engineer on Drink Champs, Hazardous Sounds.
Hazardous Sounds, definitely heard
So
about him.
I paired them up. Hazardous was working with me, my artist Garcia.
Nice.
And I put him with Nori. And I was like, "All right, guys, let's get in the studio. Let's work. And in those studio sessions, we were always big drinkers in the studio. My crew, Crazy Hood. And so if you couldn't handle your liquor, we would be like, "You're not a drink champ." It was a thing we used to say.
Drink champ.
So Nori was there in the studio hearing this all the time, and he even made a song at the time, produced by Alchemist, called Drink Champ. Okay. So that's one part of the story. So mind you, that term was thrown around, and I loved the term, and I said, I wonder if anybody has the .com. So I grabbed it. Nobody had it. I got Drink Champ and Drink Champs. I didn't know what it was gonna be.
Yeah.
So we used to say, "You're not a drink champ," and then we would say, "We drink champs." So I grabbed both, and then I grabbed the Instagram and the Twitter for Drink Champs, right? Put that to the side. I said, "All right, I don't know. That could maybe be a bar. Maybe it could be a clothing line. Who the fuck knows what that's going to be?"
Absolutely.
And then me and Nori started doing a show from my studio on XM radio, right? Called Militainment Crazy Raw Radio, which he gave the name. And then later it was on Sirius XM when they had the merger. That's how far back. It's before the merger of Sirius XM.
Doing this.
Yeah. So that show looks and sounds like Drink Champs. The only thing is we didn't have many guests because we're down in South Miami, and not too many people were coming down here to check us. So we did that for like 2 or 3 years. We didn't get paid off of that show. We did it for fun,
free.
For promo. It was a once a week show for 1 hour. And it had a mix in it. Like we DJ mixes. I would mix, my boy DJ KNS, whatever. So we did. So Nori went on tour with CNN. They did a new album.
Right.
And I went on tour with a group I was managing called Mayday. That plaque is from Mayday, song they did with Kendrick Lamar and Tech Nine.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So we both got busy and we stopped doing that show. Right. And so I was trying to figure out how could we do something like that again, but without the constraints of like we have to turn it in by a certain time. It's got to be an hour long with this, that, and the other. And my homie was always telling me, "Yo, you should do a podcast." And my homie Godfrey, shout out to him. He has a podcast called Gamer Tag Radio. They've been around for years. He's in the podcast Hall of Fame. He's been around forever. He's like an OG in the podcast world. He's like, "Yeah, man, do a podcast." And I'm like, "Yeah, you think?" He's like, "Yeah, man, that thing you guys were doing just as a podcast. You could record as long as you want, as little as you want. Release whenever you want." So I'm telling Nori he wasn't hip to the podcast thing, and nobody really wasn't hip hop.
Yeah,
it was like some nerd shit, like computer shit, like podcast. Who does
nobody gonna do that? Yeah,
nobody, no fucking nobody.
Talk all day.
Yeah, nobody. It's fucking what, internet thugs, nah. So I, it took me a while to convince them, and we almost did it, then we didn't do it, and it was just back and forth, and it took a couple of years, man. Between 3 and 5 years almost. I don't know. I forgot how many years, but it took a while. And finally he got on board. And I'm kind of trying to condense a long story.
Nah, that's amazing. I appreciate it.
And when he finally got on board, Nori's the type of dude, when he's ready, he's ready. Like
ready.
You better be ready because he's ready.
He got the energy. Yeah, I can tell.
So when he's ready, he's like, I'm like, all right, I got the name, Drink Champs. And he was like, All right, fuck it, let's go, let's use it. He wasn't even sure. I'm gonna be honest with you. He wasn't even sure about the name. I was like, yo, let's call it Drink Champs. And I had my boy Scam, who's a legendary artist, graphic artist, and MC, who had did the stuff for Eminem's album, the Beats Rhyme in Life, for Tribe Called Quest album cover.
Amazing.
He's legendary, and he's done way more stuff. I always just mention those two because they're the most notable. But and he has a song that he with Eminem that he rhymes on. So Scam did the logo, and I told Nori, look, I got the logo, I got the name, let's rock. He's like, fuck it, let's go.
No excuses, let's get it.
Boom. And then my boy Godfrey, he even presented us with an opportunity to connect us with CBS Radio. He's like, look, I'm gonna connect you with them and see if they just do the distro for you, which Rap Radar was on CBS Radio. And we're like, yo, he's like, that sounds big, let's do it. and then we did it, and it was an out the box hit. But mind you, one thing I like to tell people a lot too is even when we were a big hit right out the gate.
Yeah.
We still didn't get paid for 6 months with millions of listeners because CBS didn't know, like it was just grew too fast, too quick. They didn't know what to do with it,
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing some of the early beginnings, man. Really pointing out like that you guys started doing this for free. It's an idea in your head that you brought to life and you stuck with it. And now years later, you guys are one of the biggest, podcasts in the world. You guys are on Revolt TV. I'm forgetting all the other names, but I know you have partners with Tidal.
We're actually even past the Tidal one now. We're with iHeart now. We're with Black Effect with Charlamagne the God and they're distributed through iHeart. So we're with iHeart now. With Revolt still, we just renewed with them. But we were with Tidal, so shout out to Tidal. We were with Mass Appeal, which was Nas's company before.
Mass Appeal, yep.
Yeah, we've been with CBS Radio. We've been with Audio Boom. We've been with a lot of people, man.
That's amazing, man. So let's talk about how important. Like you just had an idea in your head, and you said, "All right, bump it. I'm going to execute. I'm going to get the domain. I'm going to get the logo. I'm going to get Nori on board. We're going to do this." Like, how important is keeping that discipline, that mindset, and just not quitting on something that can really change your life?
I mean, it's important. It's easy to quit, man. That's the easy part. But I always tell people that it's the long game that really counts, man. It's the consistency. It's commitment to something. It doesn't mean stubbornly committing to something. And there's a difference. You could commit, and there's people who something's not working, but they're just stuck in like, nah. Like you gotta give everything time, but also be smart enough to evaluate, yourself every so often. Say, all right, is this working? Is it working the way I want it to work? And then another important thing is that success is different to different people.
Yes.
Some people it's just money, and they looking for that money. Yeah. Some people is okay. Maybe the money hasn't come yet, but they're getting viewership.
Yes.
Some people might not be money or viewership. They just really enjoy doing it, and it's their side hustle that they're just passionate about, and that's enough for them to do it, and that's success for them. So you got to evaluate it and then see, if it's successful and what success is for you.
And that's actually one of the questions that I like to ask all my guests, like what's their definition of success? So, you were able to kind of break that down. What's your definition of success, by the way?
My definition, be able to be creative, and that's really the main thing is being able to flex my creativity and be my own boss. There's nothing wrong with having a boss.
Absolutely.
But it's just like, again, I started this way and this, I want to continue what I've done. Like I can't learn a new trait, bro. Like, this is it. This is what I've done since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
So that's what's important to me, man. Be able to master my own universe. And then ultimately the definition of success for me is making sure that I have a roof over my children's head. My children are fed. My mother, I can help her when she needs help, and that my family is good. That is the most important part to me. That is the most successful thing that I could do. If I fail them, it don't matter what's happening outside, then I'm not successful.
Absolutely, man. That was a very thorough answer, man. Success is, provide, being able to create and then provide for your family.
Right.
Make sure your family is taken care of. Speaking about family, man, is family something that has always been important to you? Like, is that something that you were raised in, those principles? Family above all, or was that something that you adapted over time?
It's a mixed bag. I mean, family, I did have enough family and family around me, but I have a broken home situation where my parents, separated. I was really young, and I was raised by a single mother, and I'm originally from Los Angeles, so like we moved to Miami, and this is where they got divorced, and finally everything kind of ended here, so we stayed here, and I didn't have much family here, so it was like it was all over the place. But because of those things in my life,
Right.
it was important for me.
Yeah.
Like I understood the importance of family, and that's even the reason why I have a second child, because me being an only child in those situations,
You know how it
you know,
feels.
yeah, it felt lonely to an extent. That's why my crew was so important to me, because when I found my family and them, really and truly, I do what I do now because I wanted to maintain that family for as long as I could, you know? And so that's why, I feel bad for my son that he's here for her, for my daughter, but I wanted them to have each other.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I have like great family, like aunts, and I had a great uncle who passed away, who was a great example, but we left them in LA, and they were in LA, and it was, and they were distant, but they were, and grandparents, like great grandparents as well. They were really great examples of family, but they were kind of far away. And so it was just me and my mom, but my mom was an amazing mother, dealing with a lot of hardships on her own. And
Shout out to strong mothers.
yeah, man, shout out to the single parents who are, some people frown upon saying that they play both roles, mother and father, but hey, if they're a single parent, there's single fathers that are playing the role of mother and father to an extent. So yeah, man, I mean, the little family I had made family important to me,
Thank you so much, man. That was a thorough answer, man. Thank you so much, man. And just to kind of, go back a little bit to Drink Champs, what was you have hundreds and hundreds of some of the most talented, successful people from hip hop to just the whole culture in general. Like, was there like one of like your most favorite experiences that you've had so far?
I mean, I don't want to give you the same answer I've been giving everybody every time they ask me that. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard because I always go back to the 50 Cent was one of my favorite ones. But I will say this, and I've said this as well before, but I'm gonna kind of double down on it. Whenever we've had comedians,
Yeah.
those have been like the funnest and the best ones for me, because there's no better therapy than laughing, bro. You know?
Yeah.
And so when you have those like laugh attacks and these dudes are ranking on everybody in the room, and you're just, it's kind of lighthearted. You're not trying to like talk all this deep ass stuff. We might get into some deep stuff about the comedy world or their lives, but they're still comedians, so they're making jokes. Those are the best ones, man, because like I said, the humorous, like the laughing therapy is so important, man, and it really helps.
Laughter is so therapeutic. It's actually very healing.
Yeah.
There was a movie based off of that. The doctor just went around.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, right. Going around making people smile. So laughter is very therapeutic. And so, as we are closing, man, I just want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. One question that I do have for you is, you've done so much, you've conquered so much, and you still have so much more to go. Like, where do you see yourself, or where do you want to be in the next 3 years?
Man, I just want to, instead of putting like, these very specific goals out there with like content or whatever I'm doing, I just want to continue to be able to be creative and bring in revenue, however that is, however it evolves. I just know that whatever I do, like I might change certain things that I'm doing, but it's always relatable. And I just want to, hopefully I'm allowed to continue to be able to evolve and venture off into whatever spaces I want to go into, but still it all being very relatable to what I'm doing, Crazy Hood, the brand, DJ EFN, and everything that I stand for. And ultimately and also continue to rep my city internationally. That's
Absolutely.
the most proudest thing I could say that I've been able to do, is rep my city, because that's at the basics of what I wanted to do with my crew. We just wanted to rep our city. And here we are, however many years later, repping it on a global, stage.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much for that beautiful answer, man. I really appreciate your time, man. And I just want to, shout out to you, your whole, Crazy Hood family, the whole Drink family, man. You guys are doing amazing things for the culture. You guys are depicting the culture in so many different ways, man. And, I just want to, in closing, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity, man. You know, I was able to, you know, be in a private recording of Drink Champs a few years ago. Shout out to my brother Lewis. He actually was able to get me in. You know, it was a really great, you know, a great experience because I was able to see, you know, this is the first time I was able to see anything with podcasting, like from a outside, a fly on the wall perspective.
Right,
So I
right.
was able to see you guys going in, man, and having like these exclusive moments, and the energy in the room was crazy. It didn't matter that I was standing up for for 2 long hours and 3 hours. Like it was the
Right.
energy in the room, you know, everything, man. And, you know, it was amazing, man. And then afterwards, you know, talked about the concept of time. And I hit you up and I told you, man, like, thank you so much for not kicking me out that night. I know you didn't know who I was or anything like that. And I told you that one day and I'll be on the show, you know, who knows when that would happen, man. But now it's a crazy thing 2 years later now. I have you as a guest on my show. So I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity, man. I'm grateful, man. Thank you.
No, and like I said, likewise, thank you for having me, man, and I appreciate it as well.
Absolutely, man. So thank you so much for being a guest on the Fly on the Wall show. Until next time, DJ EFN.
Peace.